Michael, as we welcome you here to the Music Mania podcast, and thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you.
It's obviously been a crazy time in America, but for you, a very busy time. Things are probably as busy as ever. You're working on a lot of projects right now, including in your own yard, let alone the music. Well, how's everything been going? What's the last few months been like for you?
Well, it's been crazy. Like you said, it's a little scary. I'm getting up in years, but I'm in good health. So, we've been trying to conform and wear our mask, and I look good in a mask. I don't know what people that have robbed Circle K is going to wear anymore. Everybody's wearing a mask. But we've been doing fine. We did a couple of live from Pandemicville things on the internet, and that was our first for us because we just got together. Oh God, how long has it been, honey? Has it been a year yet? We met. We were trying to find. Len and I were trying to find a manager. We met Giles Lafferty. He was working with Graham Bonnet and
Yes.
a couple of other artists. The late the one that played with Kiss, two brothers, Kulick.
Oh, Bob Kulick, yeah.
Bob Kulick, yeah. He passed.
Yes.
And he was working with him and Girls' School, I think it is, over in the UK.
Absolutely. And we've already seen the video. We've seen the song for Born Screamer.
Oh, yeah.
That's already come out. And you've released samples for two more songs, Famous Face
Yes.
and Riding a Hurricane. Tell us kind of the antithesis of this. You've kind of formed the Michael Bruce group, how you came up with these particular players, and kind of where this is heading and what we can expect from the album.
Well, actually what we're doing is we're going back a little, and I've done a couple of tracks that I really like, and I want to put on the album. So we're putting everybody on the tracks that wasn't on the track from before. I kept some of my original guitar parts and some of the lyrics, but we're going to end up doing it all over again. But because we didn't have the rehearsal time, because we were split up with this pandemic thing, we weren't able to rehearse it down. So we're using the tracks as sort of a template. And so there's going to be both old and new. Len, has it been, when did we meet Giles and Jimmy? It was about a year and a half ago. We went over to Los Angeles and we met Giles as my manager. And then he got back with me and said, hey, Jimmy Waldo, who played with Graham and played in New England, the group New England, and countless other, he works in LA, and he moved back to Chicago, but he's our keyboard player and vocalist. Steve Potts is our guitar player. We met through a friend of ours who's a drummer in San Diego. And then Matt is a local guy here that we got to know in different projects. Matt Indies, he plays drums, and then I play guitar, and of course Lynn's playing bass. And we kind of, we met. I was doing a benefit for, it's for foster children after they get out of the state system. Mm-hmm. They go right to the streets. Well, this benefit provides a house, Kids Love House, where they can go and sort of get reacclimated in society.
Well, I think a lot of people are excited for this project, Michael. A lot of people are excited to see you out and doing this, as you've have, of course.
I think I've waited long enough.
Well, that's what I was just putting that in a different way. Yes, you've waited long enough. The time is now, and I know we can't really make any concrete plans about live touring, but I know you had this idea for the Michael Bruce recuperated, performing hits from the original Alice Cooper group. Kind of what was the idea behind that? And we really hope that we get that on the road at some point, God willing.
That I did with a friend of mine, Ingo and Silly, two fellows that I met. They came to the States, and I met them, I think, at the Chiller autograph show in New Jersey. And they're real big fans, and great guitar player and a great bass player. And they invited me over to Iceland. So I went over there and I did a couple of albums there. And I wanted to carry it on, but the expense was just crazy, them being in Iceland. And then I was, of course, I moved to Texas, and then got a manager there, and that ran its course. And I came back and and I met Lynn, and so we started thinking about, well, let's get together. You know, she plays, so we found our drummer Matt, and so now this is going to be the culmination of all the years that I was sort of out of the picture. I had been writing, sort of on the pretense that Alice was going to get back together at some point with the band. Well, that never really happened per se. What kind of happened in an odd way is Bob Ezrin kind of became his musical director, and so now he's auditioning sort of our tunes for Alice, which is very weird.
Yeah,
Because
it is.
he used to work for us, and we brought the material in and we worked it up, and that was it, you know. Now it's a little different. He's got a different sort of an image, and he's what's a specific type of thing, and I can understand that. So I've gone through some of my material. For instance, are you familiar with the Welcome to the Squeakquel to
Yes,
Nightmare?
yes.
There's a song on there, the first one I did with Alice since, gosh, I think since he left the band, was When Hell Comes Home. Has a
Yeah,
tune on there, which is a song that it's going to be on this album, but I'm doing it the way I wrote it, and it's called Hellhole Number 9.
I like that title even better. And
Yeah.
you guys did some work on his Paranormal album too, correct? You
Yes, we
did them.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah, that, as a matter of fact, is where Born Screamer came from.
Mm.
We worked it up, and we got in the studio here in Arizona, and we recorded with Neil and Dennis. And unfortunately, Dennis was had a lot of family commitments when he came out here, and he didn't really have time. He didn't get a chance to rehearse it, and it just didn't click in the studio. But we cut the track with Neil on it and Dennis, but we didn't use Dennis's parts. Then Bob and Alice were kind enough to say, "Hey, Michael, we're not going to use it, but do you want the track?" And I said, "Hell yes!" You know, so we got the masters, and so Neil's on it. He plays drums on it, and then everybody else, the new crew, is on Born Screamer. And the other two songs, it's all the new group
Oh, that's
uh,
tremendous.
with
What
Jimmy and Steve.
Sure. What has it been like the time you talked about how it never really materialized as far as an all-out reunion, but you guys have gotten together over the years. Of course, you went in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2011 and have played some shows and some reunions here and there. What has it been like for you, Neil and Dennis, those times that you've done it? Has it been gratifying for you? Or
It's
does it
been
kind of always
terrible,
leave
Quinn.
you?
It's been just like her. It sounds like this, sort of. Oh, wait a minute. It's kind of like this.
I wasn't expecting this. That
That's kind of what it's like. It's been challenging. I never realized when my dad was telling me about his favorite Glenn Miller and all the big bands, what happens to you when your generation kind of goes the other way, and a new generation comes in, and people like Little Richard and Chuck Berry must have felt with the Beatles and the British invasion. I mean, they got swept. A few of them managed to hold their spots, but Surf Tragedy with the Beach Boys, but they kind of held their own with the Beatles, and but some of the bands aren't so lucky, and we, I think, have been lucky to have transcended a lot of this, and we're still around,
well,
more or less.
no question about it. And what's it been like for you, kind of hobnobbing and meeting and recording and or playing with some of Alice? Because Alice has 3 guitarists now. I mean,
Yeah.
Nita Strauss and Ryan Roxy, who's a good friend of ours, and Tommy Henriksen, all are great. What's it been like the times that you've been around them? Have they been cool to work
They're
with?
great. They it's not any. There's no ego trip involved. I mean, they love the songs, and we love playing them. And they asked me about some of the parts, that they couldn't quite pick out in there, and I'd show them, and then they kick ass. I mean, they're jumping around like they're on steroids. I mean, like, that's probably not so much what I'm going to be doing, but I still have my locomotion going on. So, I mean, it's not like I'm going to be standing there in in a casket or anything like that. But it's been great. I went to see here in Scottsdale, down the road a ways, is the Talking Stick Resort, run by the Pima Indians, and Blue Oyster Cult was there. So we went to see him. Our drummer was there, and he called me up and he said, "Hey, the guys from the Blue Oyster Cult want to see you." And I said, "You want to see me?" So we went on down, got to go backstage after the show, did a great show. The place was packed. And they were going, oh, God. And then they went on to tell me the story. I kind of remember when they came on board and they were going like, it wasn't for you guys. You broke the band, you're God. And I'm like blushing and trying to keep composed, but it was really flattering. And I've had several incidents like that with different people, like, think of his name now, the bass player, Billy Sheehan. Billy Sheehan is a great guy.
Just had him on. Yes.
Richie Scarlett, who works with Ace, and the lead singer for Pour a Little Sugar on a Baby is Def Leppard.
Joe Elliott, yeah.
I'm having a momentary loss of memory.
I liked the rendition of the song, though. That was worth it right there.
So we're going to the idea is once we get all the tunes more or less recorded, we're going to, I talked to Joe when he was here last time when they played here, and he said, hey, send me the tune. I'd be happy to sing on it, whatever. So I'm going to try to get a few guests on it. Neil's already on it. And not try to overdo it too much, but, where it's appropriate. And,
yeah.
And I love writing the new stuff. Like, for instance, Famous Face is sort of a satire on celebrity status, in our lives. And there's one line on there, I wish the hell you get off my TV. When Neil heard it, Neil Smith, our drummer, he goes, who did you have in mind on that? I think he was referring to my neighbor. He lives down here at Paradise Valley. We live in Scottsdale. Alice, because he does some here locally, does used car commercials, or not new and used. I take that back. More power to it.
Well, it's funny you mentioned the Blue Oyster Cult story, because literally just the other day on Monday, we had Joe Burchard on this show, and he told us the story you're talking about. Joe Burchard, of course, was a founding member of the band. He's not in the Blue Oyster Cult anymore. But
he works with Dennis, the Blue Coupe.
Yeah, the Blue Coupe, and they opened for you guys on the $1 Billion Babies tour.
That's correct. I played with Joe many times with Dennis when he's been doing his solo project and doing his Guillotine book. I played with him. Great guys, and his brother. I want to say his brother. Man, my mind's going. Albert. Yeah. I was going to say Ahmed. I guess the COVID's getting to me. We've got this one song where we've already recorded it. I'm still working on finalize the lyrics, but it's a satire on the whole scene. It's called Cold Bitch 19.
Your song titles are blowing me away, Michael. That I always kind of wondered where that tongue-in-cheek style. I always just thought it came from Alice, because he always, songs like "I Love the Dead." He always had kind of a tongue-in-cheek, but a lot of this has to come from you. I'm thinking back in the day.
We all had a very sort of camp sense of humor. As a matter of fact, on the first two albums, this was our first albums we ever recorded. We put clues in there, like they would have a clue what our clues are. They'd never heard of us before, and they were just in jokes, and we kept it up. Neil's like that, and Dennis Glenn was too. He was sort of the ultimate. He was like, he'd come in my room and play, and then I'd come back in the room and I'd see all these cigarette butts standing on end, ashtray untouched.
You were a part of all these. So many classic songs. I'm 18, Under My Wheels, No More Mr. Nice Guy, Be My Lover, School's Out, Elected, all these songs that you co-wrote and you were a part of. Whenever you went in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2011, do you feel like that moment kind of justified all the work that you'd put in those early days?
I wish I could say yes, but I had some personal issues. I was living in Mexico, down by Guaymas, this place called San Carlos. Had a boat down there. I love fishing and doing stuff like that. All along, I was gaining weight, and I had gained weight, before I even moved down to Mexico. Tried to get it off, couldn't get it off. And then when Lynn and I got together, started dating, and she encouraged me to go, the doctor. And I'd been going, getting my teeth looked after, but, I felt okay. I was just gaining weight. I thought that's part of getting old. Turns out my thyroid was on vacation permanently. Wow. And you can't lose weight without your thyroid. So I made some adjustments. So I was a little heavy then. So I was I wasn't really at the top of my game, I guess I'd say. But it was great getting together. The downside of that is now that Alice and Bob are working so closely together, they do a lot of things, and we're not in the loop anymore like we were before. And so it's like, we're playing with who, when, what? Michael, hey, get on a plane, come out here. It's like, but the shock, of sort of reorienting myself. Here I'm in New York City. I haven't been here for like 15 years, or not 15 years, but it's not my regular groove. Analysis, it's like his second home or third home or whatever. Don't get around much anymore. And which is good and it's bad. Especially if you're in this kind of climate, we're having all these contagious problems. But it's like I feel kind of like out there in left field, sort of. But it's a personal thing. I'm working through it, and it's not a game changer by any means. And it's always great to get together with Dennis, Neil, and Alice. We have a great time. We did the Christmas pudding thing. They had the largest audience and made the most money ever in his. It was the 18th year, 18 concert they gave, and we really had a great time. Johnny Depp was there, and Joe Bonamassa, and Pointer Sisters, not the Pointer Sisters, the We Are Family. That's
them, right?
That's not the Pointer Sisters.
Okay.
Sister Sledge.
Okay.
Sister Sledge. And they were great gals, and they actually were living here or are living here now, and we had a great time, and it was just super.
Well, I'm 18 is one of those funny stories because you talk about Bob Ezrin. He's apparently got a lot of control now, but back then, not so much. He came in, and the legend has it he heard you guys play in a club, I believe in San Francisco, might have been LA, and that he thought the song was "I'm Edgy," and he really liked the song. Is that true?
Well, that's what he says, and I assume he's being truthful. I don't know, because I was playing it, so I don't know what he heard.
I want you to take us back a little bit, because the genesis of the Alice Cooper Band is one that I think fascinates a lot of people. And Michael, there's so many people that are such a fan of your area and the antithesis of what you guys did and started. You guys started, as legend, your Wikipedia page, we might have to do another falsity here. That's
Okay.
This kind of, you and Neil, that you met Neil first. Neil was a drummer.
Yeah.
You guys met first in high school, and and then you guys joined the Spiders, correct?
Right. We played several shows with Neil. He was in a band called the what's this guy? He danced around like Mick Jagger. Really, really cool band. And then that guy left, and Neil started a band called the Cloth of Many Colors. And Neil was the lead singer. He was not playing drums. And I got to say, the guy, he's a great drummer. His vocals are a struggle, but he pulls it off. He's just so confident, and he's got this attitude. And so we hung together, and I got the first call. I was home, still living in my parents' house, and got a call from a couple of guys I knew from the VIP here in Phoenix. It was a teen club where the Spiders were the house band. And they said, hey, the Spiders looking for a guitar player, come on down. So I went down, and we were big on love the Yardbirds. So I did my first rave up, back then. And we played, and I think it went well. Then I'm walking out to my vehicle, and they said, is that I had a Willys Jeep, the old one with the wood on the side. And he goes, is that yours? And yeah, he said, hey, would you be interested in carrying some of our gear down to the show? And I said, sure. So I was in then. Get a guitar player, songwriter / roadie.
Well, and just a few short years, you're writing hit songs, you're touring the world. Michael, at what point did you kind of realize, and that maybe you and the rest of the guys, Glenn and Neil and Dennis, kind of realized that Alice Cooper, the band name, had become Alice Cooper? Vincent Fournier had kind of overtaken him, and he was taking on the role of Alice
Incarnate,
Cooper.
Yeah. Well, just a last note, when I went down and auditioned, I had been working with a guy here locally who wrote Scotch and Soda, Jigger a Gin, oh, what a state you got me in. And he was a school teacher, and he lived here in Phoenix, and I started recording. I had 2 singles, 4 songs out as the Wildflowers, and I didn't want the Spiders to know because they were recording, and like their songs were, I didn't think as good as they were doing a Hitchhike and a bunch of, other people's tunes. And when we started playing together, I asked Dennis, I said, you guys do any of your material, any of your own material? And they said, no, but he had written some songs. So I was big on pushing them to start writing, because that's where you really make a lot of impact, when you do your own music. Anyway, run that question by me again.
At what point did you guys kind of realize that Alice Cooper had?
Oh, Alice, yeah. Well, we never really, he was being the personification of Alice. So we decided back when we first started working with Shep that that was probably going to happen because, there was an interview like Dumb Kids from Phoenix. We all went down there, we're all, and Alice is telling the story, and then I tell another story about the same incident, completely different story. It's like get 5 different versions, and it was just, I pity the guy who was doing the interview. He's like, wait a minute, what's going on here? So that streamlined the whole process. And then, Alice with the theatrics and whatnot, it just was very natural. And I don't suppose we ever thought that he was going to take that and go with it. I remember when we got the call from Shep one day, we were actually rehearsing for the next Cooper album after Muscle of Love, and we had worked up several songs, and then Neil had placed a call to Shep, and Shep called him back and said, well, Alice doesn't want to work with you guys anymore. And boy, that was a game changer right there. We kind of took the winds out of our sails, and so we decided, hey, let's go forward with what we were doing. So we did the Battle Axe thing, and we tried to find some singers, but we couldn't find anybody. We really knocked us out, and so I started singing, and it went really well, except when it got to the part where we're not in control of things like the mastering of the record. When it was released, Lee DiCarlo had to really overindulge, let's say, the night before he went in mastering, and his particular drug of choice, let's put it this way, it wasn't alcohol. And so the high end of his hearing went away, and it was snowing severely, if you know what I mean. And so they kept cranking up the highs. And so on a vinyl record, they're like U-shapes where the stylus rides in this nice little groove, right? Well, at the end, when he was done, it was like a V. And then whenever a loud passage of music came up by, it would eject the stylus right off the record. So we had a recall on our first record within, gosh, it was like the first couple of months. And that really killed us. We never recovered from it, basically. And we had regional hits on Cashbox. The songs were doing well. We had a tour planned with Concerts West. And it just, boy, that was hard to take, seeing it just dissolve into the ether, And that took some time to get over. That was tough because we worked about 3 years on that, putting it together after Alice's departure. But, we never got to talk to him for the longest time after that. And I think there was just, why, Alice, why? Because he made one comment. He said, well, these guys, they don't want to do any theatrics. They just want to, play in their Levi's and Alice wants to do, his theatrical thing. Well, that's not true. The Battle Axe show had a stage that came out from the drum riser. We fought in these super futuristic, it was a battle to the death for money and those scoreboards. We call it Jock Rock. And it was very theatrical. And we had to spend $100,000 on the stage. We did 4 shows.
Wow. Oh,
yeah, that was a tough nut. So that was kind of disappointing when Alice is telling people that, we don't want to do theatrics or whatnot. And then, I just, why, that's not in fact true, So there was a lot of confusion, a lot of misunderstanding. We didn't see the guy for ages. And then I remember one time that he said to Neil, he goes, he was kind of afraid to see me because he thought I'd beat him up. Well, I don't want to go to jail.
No, don't do it. But
But I can only get him to throw the first punch, right?
Exactly. All's well that ends well, of course, because your era is so respected. People respect you and are so excited about your latest endeavor. And the song "Born Screamer" is so exciting. And I've got to ask you before we let you go, since have a great sense of humor and just seem like such a great guy, I've got to ask you, who's the better bassist, Lynn or Dennis?
Oh, hands down, it's. Well, you know what's interesting is when we started playing, we started playing with our drummer Matt, and we had a couple different guitar players, and we were just doing some covers of the tunes, right? And she was playing all of Dennis's stuff without a pick. And if you played guitar, it's hard to do, because Dennis he's not playing, just any old bass part. And she really could tear it up. So Dennis is the guy that wrote it, though, and Lynn's learning. She's a school jazz player, so she's still getting her rock and roll booties, on, and she's doing a great job. And she's a quick learner, and she's got great tempo, great ears, and I tell you, it's a lot better working with a female who's especially your wife instead of a bunch of crusty guys.
And she is.
We want to be the new Paul and Linda,
Hey, absolutely, and she is awesome. She's just super cool. So we got to
wait
to
till you hear her
before.
live when she can tear it up big time.
Well, I can't wait to see more of it. You have a website. It's michaelbruceofficial.com, guys. That's where you can get all the information on the new song and the album when it comes out. michaelbruceofficial.com, and you got a Facebook now. Michael.
Did we answer any of these questions that we were going to do? Oh yeah, I guess you did. Yeah.
Michael, I format an interview like nobody else. I go through it meticulously, and it's always in order, and I never deviate from the path. We got it all.
Great.
No, it's been great.
Anytime you need me, I'm here. I'd be happy to come on again. And when we get the album actually done, I'd like to come on and share it with you and the fans and talk about, each of the tunes. I think they're going to get a real treat because it's going to be songs that I was writing for myself and for the Alice Cooper unit that really didn't manifest. It did in a small way. And then some new stuff. And I think it'll catch me back up to the present.
Well, we're excited about it. We will definitely have you back on when the album's ready. Stay safe and stay healthy, my friend. We'll definitely catch up again soon. Thank you so much, Michael.